Welcome to That's the Setup podcast, where anything and everything is discussed, setting the conversations for a real life situation with your hosts, the 5-time book author of The Setup and Soul You book collection, and 2019 featured Essence Fest author Sherika Duncan, Roland Mayhew, mastermind key brand strategist, and former pro athlete, music producer, and restaurateur Devenchie Battle. Now, let's grab your cup, notepad, and pen to record these gems and sit back and relax. We are continually dropping on TTS News. Follow us on YouTube, that's the Setup Podcast TV channel, Instagram at the Setup Podcast TV, and Facebook, Setup Podcast TV.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Just, staying sane in this time of the world.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Very good thing. Keep your sanity.
Mm-hmm.
So many things are popping off.
A lot of things.
Yeah. Was it last week when the what was it? The main gas line had cyber attack?
Yeah, the gas line was the Colonial Pipeline. We're talking about that attack, and then the Microsoft server exchange or Microsoft Exchange hack. Yeah, it was the server hack. So,
That was last week also?
No, it was about 2 weeks ago. But when you said hack, it just made me think about that. Maybe 4 weeks ago. But it was recent. Cause the reason why I know about it, I had to do something. I had to deal with it. Yeah.
Okay. Front line. Trying to protect our cyber platforms.
Yep.
We're secured. So these hackers are getting kind of sophisticated. Yep. It really affected my area, neck of the woods in Florida.
Yeah.
People got, they panicked, ran to the gas stations and depleted all the gas pumps. It was kind of crazy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just horrific. I saw people running out of gas, trying to get to the pump.
Yeah, I think I also heard a story where this person got this gas and they would put it in a plastic container, and I guess with it being hot, the containers caught on fire.
What?
I did hear some report like that.
Wow. It would not surprise me. I heard about, some fights, a couple of brawls trying to get to the pump, people physically fighting to get to the gas pump.
Yeah.
But people were blaming that on Russia for some reason.
Hey, Russia.
Yeah, they blamed it on Russia that the hack happened from Russia, so there were no coincidence. But I believe Biden mentioned that it was not Russia. He kind of cleared the air on that.
Sound like they trying to get blame something on something so they can start a war. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Be careful when I say that.
But other than that, we're dealing with the Tesla crash.
Yeah.
There's been multiple crashes happening with the autopilot feature.
Now that's interesting because in this time, this day and age, with the technological advance, everything like that, everybody's trying to definitely go into that automation, artificial intelligence, which been going on since they showed Get Smart, that movie, and that sitcom that used to be on, and Inspector Gadget. That's what made me think about all this stuff.
Right, which leads to our discussion for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted us to take some time out to discuss how our world of technology is emerging right before our eyes, and how we definitely want to be abreast of what's happening versus at the tail, so we can prepare ourselves, based on these recent incidents of cyber attacks and of the Tesla car crashes. It's sort of like, how do we feel about all of this information? Does it make you nervous? The stock market is really being affected too, based on these occurrences.
Right. And then that's the other thing. It's like, so when you talk about the stock market and then you talk about the automation, it also made me think that it's a game that's being played. So if Tesla is like they trying to get into the self-driving cars and things of that nature, how much of this is dealing with playing the stock market game and say, okay, we're going to lower the stock and then we're going to rise it back up. We're going to say, okay, Tesla is this, they pass this. How much money is being made off it? That's always be my question.
Wow. Great point. Because you would think sometimes, we're not saying all the time, because accidents do happen, although
right.
Sometimes accidents are pre-planned.
Exactly.
And you can be on one end or the other, right? You can reap the benefits, or you can reap, the sadness from someone losing their life or getting hurt or endangered. But
right.
Someone is on the opposite end of that and getting benefits from it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think we ever realize that. I don't think people really see that because they're so stuck on the bad side.
Right. And then sometimes people just don't want to believe it, even though it's right there in your face. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
It's like, how much I got to put in your face to make you believe it?
That's when you're called a conspiracy theorist.
Right. Yeah. Because automation, for people who don't know, automation been around.
Mm-hmm.
And they pretty much tell you what direction they're going in.
Mm-hmm.
With these movies. And that's why I say if you haven't noticed, a lot of these movies, they deal with the robots and the AI, artificial intelligence and stuff like that. Come on, man. They telling you in blind sight, as they say, in plain sight.
Yes, I do agree. It is on most of all these sci-fi movies, too. It's just, are you in tune to that? Or are you just being distracted by, the Real Housewives franchise or, the Love and Hip Hop franchise or, vice versa, reality shows?
Well, you just said it. That's the distraction. Let's get them put on this little drama right here. And then while they do that, we're going to throw this out here. We got self-automation cars. We got this, we got that. Man, that's futuristic stuff. The future is here, people. The future is here.
Yeah.
But with that crash, it raises a lot of concerns. But, and it's still going to be some people that are going to be like, yeah, I still want it. And then maybe they made that crash, maybe the car was malfunctioning. Who knows? Maybe somebody hacked into the system. Or maybe they said, well, we ain't ready for this right now, so let's not let people get too comfortable with this, and we'll bring it out when we're ready for it to come out.
Now,
because, go ahead.
Okay, now, before we dive into the crashes, let's give our friends some type of background in terms of, like, with me, I noticed I kind of, tuned in back in April when it was reported around April 18th, there were 2 people that were killed in a fiery Tesla crash with no one driving the vehicle. So that really sparked my interest, and I read the article, and it happened in Texas where 2 people died, and they weren't driving. No one was in the driver's seat. So, okay, they crashed into a tree, and it burst into flames. So the stock market, definitely plummeted for Tesla. it really dropped. The prices got, reduced. Now, recently you noticed another incident, correct?
Yeah, it was one in Fontana, California, Fontana, however you want to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one out in California. The dude, from what I was reading, was 34 years old, and he was part of a Tesla club, and he was doing a Facebook Live, and I think the car was going about 50 miles per hour, and he had a crash and died.
He died?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, another guy, another crash, another death.
Gee, and he was making a point that obviously he felt safe. He really,
right.
He felt like he could prove that it was actually doing his job, but I did not see that story yet. That's so sad. So he passed away?
Yeah, he did. I hate to say it sounds so blunt, but yeah, he did.
Dang. I wonder what Elon Musk is, how his response is. You know what? I did catch something back in April where it sort of sounded like he mentioned what is one bad, I'm sure he was remorseful, but people really didn't kind of see it bluntly. Like, he was really blunt with his statement, but he was just saying, what is one accident versus all the other million successful, test cases from his car, from his inventions. There's going to be some failures to his successes, but the successes outweigh the failure.
Right, and he definitely got a whole value because it's his company, and you got to keep those shareholders happy. So, he got to quote unquote do the what we call it when you politically correct. So he got to do that. But then again, too, I can see what he's saying. It's like, so we got so many of them out there. This is just maybe one or two, how many crashes they have, but still at the same time, people are having crashes, but they're able to drive their car. And unfortunately, sometimes when people crash driving their car, that's totally two different things. And when you say, hey, I'm finna totally trust this car to get me from point A to point B with me sitting in the passenger seat and the car is driving by itself. What if? And then the question is, what malfunction for the car to wreck? Like, did a camera go out? My question is, if it's driving by itself, then that means there's a program to make it automated like that. So what failed in the program? Because it's almost like, is it hooked up to a server, a main server, or is it all in that car? Is it a microchip in the car? So these are the questions that raises my interest into, like, what is causing the cars to crash.
Right. Because just like we know in tech world that it has to be updated. There has to be some patches pushed down to this software, because there is a software that has to, like, for instance, whatever happened in that car, I'm sure developers and all that ran scans to see what could have possibly failed in the code. And then they may have pushed another change or another little test case to, I guess, cover it. So they had to push down a patch. So how else would it must be cloud-based or something?
Yeah, but not what I would say to that is, okay, looking at some of the pictures, if some of those cars burn up completely. So it's like, so how can they even do a diagnostic on it if the car's burned? Did it burn the main CPU? Did it burn the chip board? What, like, how do they determine all that stuff? Is there a way they can, do like a DNA test on the car, I guess, to say, to figure out, like, what went wrong?
Okay. Well, I'm reading an article where Tesla CEO Elon Musk sent a tweet about the crash that happened in Texas back in April, which said, in part, the data logs so far show autopilot was not enabled, and this car did not purchase full service driving. So there's another feature, another layer of pricing. Moreover, the standard autopilot would require standard lane lines to turn on, which this street did not have. Whoa. So that right there is a lot of room for error.
Right.
So you're telling me the car is programmed to drive on certain streets. So that particular street did not have the standard lane lines, which some streets don't have. I mean, based on where you go. So how can you? And also, number two, it did not purchase the full service driving feature.
Wow. So that means to tell me, in order for you to get the full feature, it's an added-on feature. So why not just get it when somebody say, "Hey, I want autopilot on this." So it should come completely with the full feature, you would think, so you can avoid these kind of mishaps, right?
I agree. That's the assumption being made based on what. So there's levels to the autopilot features. This one did not have a full service, the one that happened back in April with the two people that crashed into a tree and burned. That's sad. It's sad, but that was his response, and to the tune of the standard autopilot would require standard lane lines to turn on, which this street did not have. So, with all of this being said, if those people, rest their soul, were alive today to attest for that, would they be able to say that they 100% was aware of that disclaimer?
Well, that's key too. So I guess that's why he came out and said what he said, because it's a disclaimer there. And I know, not trying to be funny enough, but I know that I had a test. I know I won't have it on no autopilot in no state of Georgia, especially with a lot of those roads not developed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Texas got some parts where, it's still it's just wide open, So,
Yeah. One of these things where we just got to be realistic with our risk taking, right?
Right.
For whatever reason, we must understand, family, with this technology, it is not a mind of its own. It is programmed that way. A human being programs it to behave and act the way and respond the way it does to certain conditions.
Mm-hmm.
We must understand that we have to be accountable for our own lives and how much risk we're willing to take. And with this particular incident, it sounds as if there were some loopholes.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
And then you got to think about the CEO for Tesla. Elon Musk. He's been a very controversial figure. So, I'm pretty sure he got to make sure he say, quote unquote, the right things, or maybe he's just saying, well, look, man, it's up to the consumer to understand the disclaimer that is on these cars when you get that feature, I mean, this dude right now is definitely catching a lot of heat because of the Saturday Night Live performance he had.
What happened?
I haven't seen the performance, but it was a lot of news. It was very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying he was like one of the worst hosts ever, and then also with all that, because he's part of that Doggy-Coin, or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That jump dropped. So man, it's a lot going on with Mr. Musk right now.
Okay, let me see what in the world happened with that one. Okay, Dogecoin price plummets as Elon Musk hosts. He hosted Saturday Night Live 8 days ago, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. So that's why I said, with the crash, and then knowing that he is the CEO. I mean, and then with this, now I read an article where they're talking about he's $20 billion broke. But, hey, man, there's a lot going on with Tesla.
Yeah, and speaking of this Dogecoin, right, because that was a wave. That really was a trend. Everybody who knew about investing in cryptocurrency and vice versa, who also to the ones who don't have any knowledge at all about Dogecoin and cryptocurrency, everybody was jumping that wave and trying to see how could they buy and invest in it. And I read somewhere where it was really meant to be a joke. Dogecoin was really meant to be a joke. It wasn't meant to catch a wave like that.
Mhm. Yeah, man. So, Mr. Musk, you got a lot going on.
Wow. Especially with the SpaceX project. I mean, I'm fascinated by everything that, he pretty much has going on technology-wise because, it's innovative. It takes a lot of courage and to be around some very intelligent people, maybe some Silicon Valley people, right?
Yeah, because, he was out there, but he moved the company to Texas. And part of that move was dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, from what I heard, because, California was, like, locking down a lot of companies. So he was just like, he should be able to, it's his company, he should be able to do what he wants. But, the government was like, nah, y'all got to lock down. So he ended up moving the company out to Texas. I don't know what part.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say Austin, because there's a lot going on in Austin, Texas, but maybe right outside it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Wow.
Now, speaking of, not to jump around, but let me bring it back to the self-driving cars. Because out here in Arizona,
they
have a company called Waymo, spelled WAYMO.
Mm-hmm.
And Waymo was formerly the Google self-driving car project. So this self-driving car technology automation, they are definitely really pushing it. And I say that because I've witnessed it with my own eyes. I was out here driving on one of the highways and I pulled up at the stoplight and I looked over at the Waymo car and I was just like, ain't nobody in the car. Because it's funny when you actually see it. And I had a cousin with me in my car and I said, hey man, you want to see something freaky? Look over there. And he looked. He said, well, God damn. He said, ain't nobody driving that car. I said, ain't nobody driving that car.
Wait, was it on the same street as you?
Yes. When I pulled up, I was by a light, and it was in the turning lane. And when I looked, it turned. And when the light turned green, it turned. And I was just like, okay, ain't nobody over there. I even looked, trying to look and see if somebody like laying down in the seat. There was nobody in the car. So I said, well, they are definitely pushing it. And then another time I seen it, I was outside riding my bicycle, working out and everything, and I had just stopped, take a drink of water. I seen the Waymo car pull up. I seen the lady get out like an Uber. Lady got out, walked to her apartment, the car door closed, and it drove off. I said, man, it's freaky.
Okay.
Yeah, it's freaky.
So it was like a normal-sized car.
like a van. They got
Oh,
like a van, and then they got like I seen one prototype that's like a Lexus or Infinity, one of them.
oh,
Yeah, so they're pushing this initiative for real.
okay. I mean, I've been seeing the commercials from Domino's launching a pizza delivery robot car, but that car is like, it seems like a mini car that rides sort of like on the side of the street. It doesn't really drive in the main lane, and it rides like the curbside.
Mhm. Nah, he cars in the main lane. So I mean, it's then when you hear about these crashes, it's like, okay, what if the car has a DUI? What do you do? When they listening. So I'm gonna be careful with that one. I'm gonna definitely be careful with that one because
We need regulations, is all I'm saying. We would love to see the regulations on the driverless vehicle, practices. Like we just mentioned a scenario of a human driver having a accident with a driverless vehicle.
right.
Who is at fault? And what insurance company is liable, right? So
Exactly.
what type of coverage is needed for a driverless vehicle? I mean, some type of regulations per state, federally, county, just needs to be outlined, and we should have already known about it now. So I think that is still in the works for it not to be known in the newspaper. I hadn't seen it on my side in Florida.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got something out here, but I would have to dig more into it because like this was just brought to my attention.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I like to say for the listeners, if you don't believe that the 21st century is moving without you, you better wake up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
moving without you if you're not paying attention. And they got people out there every day that get, just like you have gamers, you got people out there that enjoy doing this stuff, dealing with automation and things of that nature.
Speaking of that, I was watching a movie of about robots fighting, as like with boxing. They have robots boxing.
Yeah. Pretty much what you see on TV, they probably already got it.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see where it goes. Maybe, we are really embracing technology to the point where, you never know if there are humanoids. I've heard of, human/robotic type entities also, and, with the way of the land of cloning and all that stuff, you just never know who your neighbors are. I'm just saying, the future is, upon us. We definitely should not be shocked. We just need to be prepared of the possibilities.
Right.
Right? And so
right.
we're very intelligent beings to where we can do anything when we put our mind to it. So that is, in itself is exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yes. This has been a great talk. So in terms of, you said your take on the technology position, we just need to be aware and knowledgeable and, try not to be fearful. I know it's going to happen regardless, just because of anxiety. Although we're just going to have to manage that anxiety now because everything is virtually. So sort of like we got a taste of that these past 2 years of how we're able to adapt from a virtual standpoint, right?
Right. I mean, if you're not ready to adapt, you're not ready for change, then, it's happening regardless, whether you're ready or not. And, being in the IT industry and stuff like that, stuff constantly getting changed, constantly updates, as you can see with the phones. If you got a phone, they bringing out a new one almost every August, or they working on different prototypes. So that's the good thing about technology. It's constantly evolving, but oh man, there's so many other things when it comes to privacy and then when you like what we talked about with these crashes, you know. But you gotta be on your A game in order to understand it all.
Right. So be mindful of your digital footprint, right?
Exactly.
Be mindful of how easy and I should say how everything seems so easily accessible when they ask you to save your password so that you don't have to do it the next time around. You know, just think twice about saving your banking credentials versus, you know, just taking time out to type in your username and password each time, right? Certain things just allow us to be exposed when it doesn't really have to be.
Right.
Just for that extra layer of security, right? You know, so just be mindful of those types of biometric features because, you know, it's coming. We know it's coming and we must embrace it. You know, people in Africa, they don't even need to use anything physical to pay in a store. Sort of like there's a scanning biometric footprint on their debit card information embedded in their DNA fingerprint.
Yeah, it don't take much once you do the programming.
And, you know, it's easy, right? From a technical standpoint, like Devenchie just mentioned, it doesn't take much, but from a mind perspective, it's like, say what?
Yeah.
But it's out there and it's exciting, but we just got to make sure we're ahead of that information and embracing it. And if not embracing, just making ourselves aware. Because I know there's some people who are being mentally depressed about this technical world.
Right.
Because they don't want to adapt. And that's not a good way of living.
Yeah. Life always brings about constant changes.
Yes. So let's be a part of this change, guys. And if anything that we mentioned tonight helped in any way, please let us know. Let us know what you think. Do you think that the cryptocurrency world and the Dogecoin is going to go up? Or do you think that this Tesla stock is going to hold steady? Or we need to just we need to have a session on stock investment, Devenchie. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get us a good person because I do stock, but I'm not a broker or an expert. So, yeah.
Get us an expert matter on here so we can learn what's going on in that world, right? Let's help us win together. Yes, we'll work on that, guys. Well, if that isn't, do you have anything else you want to tell our people?
Stay alert, and y'all be safe out there.
Hey, as always, thank you for listening to That's the Setup podcast. Listen, let us know what you're thinking. Give us your feedback or questions. What would you like for us to talk about next? Send it to ttsnews@sherikaduncan.com. Until then, signing off.
Welcome to That's the Setup podcast, where anything and everything is discussed, setting the conversations for a real-life situation with your hosts, the 5-time book author of the Setup and Soul You book collection and 2019 featured Essence Fest author Sherika Duncan, and former pro athlete, music producer and restaurateur Devenchie Battle. Now, let's grab your cup, notepad and pen to record these gems and sit back and relax. We are continually dropping on TTS News. Follow us on YouTube, that's the Setup Podcast TV channel, Instagram at the Setup Podcast TV, and Facebook, Setup Podcast TV.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. Now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I use my podcast to promote and introduce you to my novel that is coming up, The Setup, and you can learn more about that on my website at www.sherikaduncan.com and pre-order your copy today. Anchor, I love Anchor because I'm able to manipulate my voice files and give you beautiful creative pitches in the cast in my script and introduce you to different people and personality that come a part of the episodes and just dialogue with you and meet great and exciting people. So if you always wanted to start a podcast and make money from doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. Hey, I can't wait to hear your podcast. Let's go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to That's the Setup podcast. We're back again. Me and my better half, Mr. Devenchie Battle. How you doing, Mr. Battle?
Good evening. I'm doing well. How about you?
Just making it do what it do. You understand? On this lovely Tuesday evening. Yes. And I'm so excited. What we got going on tonight? What do we got?
I believe you say you got a young man that's in the area that you are from, Leon County, Tally-Ho, that some people know.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about that too. So I'm gonna let you introduce him because he's down there with you. You know what I'm saying? I don't left Leon County.
Yeah, he had to leave Tally, Mr. Henderson. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you to the man of the hour. Our special guest this evening is Mr. Spencer R. Henderson. Welcome, Mr. Henderson. Welcome, Spencer.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me on your podcast. Appreciate it.
No problem. We appreciate you, sir.
Now, Vinci, that's your cue to let him know why you don't represent Leon, where you are.
Oh, I'm out here in the West, out in Arizona, Maricopa County, which is Phoenix, and surrounding areas, Arizona. Out here in the heat, it's about 100 degrees a day. So, I'm out here where it's warm.
Okay.
That's right. We touched 100 today also, so we can definitely relate.
Oh, it is. It was hot.
Yeah, I'll take this 100, then I'll take that down to 100 because we got that humidity that go with that there. See?
Oh, I see.
That's right.
I see. So, Mr. Henderson, can I call you Spencer? Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay. Now, this gentleman is the walking brand. I just admire your presentation, from the branding of your name, and also how you carry yourself. Can you tell our lovely audience who you are and what your business entails?
Of course. And thank you guys again for inviting me on the podcast for this opportunity to speak to people that don't know me and people that do. But my name is Spencer R. Henderson, and I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. Long story short, came to Tallahassee. When I was a little boy, I really, originally from Gwinnett County, up in Atlanta, North Atlanta. I was kind of as a young boy, you know, I had, you know, a lot of bad thoughts and did a lot of bad things. So my mama shipped me up there to my granddaddy, and up in Atlanta. So I was up there with him, and you know, he pretty much straightened me out. You know, sent me back to Tallahassee, and you know, I kind of got my mind right. I still had, you know, still was in and out, you know, with the law and stuff like that. But you know, I ended up getting my mind right. You know, after my granddaddy passed, when I was like 20, you know, it really kind of got my mind right. You know, and from then, you know, I just started trying to get my life back. You know what I mean? I really just to kind of give people you know, insight on me, just not the surface stuff that a lot of people already know. Again, when I was at Rikers High School, you know, my senior year, I had a 1.97 GPA. You know, so I was studying. You know, I went at school. I was, you know, doing the wrong thing, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? And one of the things that kind of, you know, slapped me in the face was, you know, I didn't play football like all throughout my first 3 years. My 9th, 10th grade, 11th grade year, I was in the streets. I wasn't playing football, but I had played Pee Wee, you know, all throughout middle school or whatever. And I had, you know, kind of got a little stardom in Pee Wee. But when I got to Rikers, I didn't, make a long story short, I didn't want to go to Rikers. I wanted to go to Leon. But I was on from Leon. I had went to Robb Middle School. So I kind of threw a little temper tantrum and just was like, I ain't going to play football there. But to make a long story short, you know, whenever I ended up graduating, barely, you know, from Rikers, I got a couple of offers. You know what I mean? It wasn't no real big schools like no Florida State and nothing like that. But for someone that, you know, had a 1.97 GPA, you know, any school giving you an opportunity, you know, to be who you want to be, you should take it. But I didn't take it. You know, I had a scholarship from Jacksonville University. They wanted me to come out there and play wide receiver. And I thought I was too small of a university. You know, believe it or not, I thought, you know, I was too good for them. Even though that's a great institution when it comes to getting an education, I turned it down. So I ended up going to TCC and started there in 2001 and pretty much started playing around there too. You know, I ended up dropping out of college, dropping out of TCC, and I got me a little, you know, a little side job, you know, where I was doing like radio installation and radio sales. It's called stereo sales. I don't know if y'all know about that place in Tallahassee, but you know, I was there for like 4 years. You know what I mean? That's really when I met my brother, Ed. You know, that's when I, you know, kind of, you know, helped him get that spot over there at stereo sales. And he was there for like 10 years. You know what I mean? So it ended up being a blessing, you know, for both of us. But that's the kind of the story that people don't really know about. You know, people don't, you know, they pretty much just know about me for documentaries now and you know, the barbecue place. But that's the you know, the background on who Spencer R. Henderson is, as far as, you know, the motivation and, you know, the bad to the good, you know, kind of story. And one of the things that really kind of stuck with me was the Most High. You know, through all that time when I was, you know, thugging or whatever the case may be, you know, the Most High, he kept his hand on me, you know, because he could have, I'd have had plenty of times where I could have been killed. I'd have had plenty of times where I was in car accidents, could have been dead. But the Most High, he felt like it was my turn. And, you know, and I always, you know, give praise to the Most High, you know, for, you know, even putting me in any opportunity, you know, today. So I just say that to give people a little, you know, idea about, you know, who I am, you know, as far as the background on who I am or who I was, you know, before I got, you know, to where I'm at today. But yeah, so that's a little short, you know, little 5-minute story about the background.
Yeah. Now shout out to stereo sales.
Right.
They were really, really a community activist organization. They really did pay it forward to black businesses.
Right.
And when thank you for sharing that, because I was not aware, because it kind of put a timeline with me on stereo sales the gentleman with the long ponytail, wear glasses.
Yeah, that's the owner.
What's his name, Richard?
Richard, yeah.
So Richard was the first person to become a sponsor for my nonprofit Excellence Dance Studio when we had a King of the Grill cook-off. I remember, I didn't even know you were working there. I do remember going in there, and just giving him a sponsorship packet, and he was one of our title sponsors. He did all the signage and banners. He even put, like, the rattlesnake on the back of my Jeep Commander with King of the Grill on it. And I still have that rattlesnake on my car to this day. I really do. Shout out to Samuel.
Oh, yeah.
But Ed, yeah, and that's probably how we were able to go over to Ed and, proposition him to be a part of the King of the Grill cook-off. I did not put the two and two together. So are you guys blood related, or tell us about
No. That's not my blood. That's not my blood brother. I don't. Just to make a long story short, I really don't know a lot of my. I have like brothers that I don't even know. Like I got brothers from my father's side. Just to make a long story short, to give you a little background on that. My father, he's a preacher. He's been a preacher for like the last 40 years. And how I was conceived in sin. You know what I mean? I was one of those, them Tyler Perry specials. When you got the pastor, messing with the woman in the congregation, and the woman ended up getting pregnant. You know what I mean? So that's how I was conceived into this world. And what happened was, like, I ended up growing up, kind of curious about, my other siblings, because my father was kind of like a popular pastor. And people, I looked just like him, to make a long story short. And when I started getting older, people started asking me questions like, what's going on or whatever the case may be. And I didn't have no answers. But at the end of the day, that was one of those times where I kind of started reaching out to, people that might know my brothers and stuff like that. So I ended up meeting two of my brothers, not from his marriage, but two other kids that he had on the outside as well, that he kind of abandoned as well. So I was able to connect with them, and kind of get a little feedback. One of my brothers is deaf. I didn't even know he was deaf. And the other one, he's older than me. He's doing really good. But that's a little background on that story. So no, Ed is not my blood brother. I have two brothers on my mother's side, and like I said, I got probably like 5 or 6 on my father's side. I only know 2 of them. So Ed became a brother in Christ. When I call Ed my brother, I'm talking about in Christ. I'm not talking about fleshly. I'm talking about in the spirit.
Speak.
So there's 2 different worlds out here. You got a flesh world, you got a spirit world. So the flesh world, my father is my father in the flesh, but he's not my father in the spirit. I only have one father in the spirit, and that's the Most High. And that's some things that you have to kind of learn, throughout life. But once you get it, you're good. But so when it came down to Ed, I was genuine with Ed. I told him I wanted him to move to Stereo Cell because I was tired of walking all the way down to Adams Street, and I didn't want to keep walking down there to get my barbecue. I wanted it closer. So I made a proposition when I said, man, look, you might as well just move your barbecue spot over here by us. And, I talked to my boss about, I talked to Rich about, getting you on. And, for a whole year, man, Ed was like, nah, Spook, man, I ain't gonna, nah, man, I'm good right here, I'm good. So for about a whole year, he kind of had that type of attitude. And then one day out the blue, I guess he changed his mind and ended up changing his life. So, so he was there for about 10 years. And then, like, in 2019, he ended up moving where he is now. And that's when he moved, he was like, we had a conversation. He was like, man, I'm going to make you, pretty much a partner, like a part owner of this business. You just to be involved with all the, deliveries, carry out deliveries, like big deliveries that we do. We got like people be ordering like $500 worth of reels or whatever. You know what I mean? I have to go out there and cater and stuff like that. So I'm mainly like the PR coordinator and like the delivery man for the business. Ever since 2019. So that's why I call him my brother.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's the truth on that right there.
Shout out to Ed. Yes. $5 barbecue. What is it? What's the hook? $5 Rib Man?
Well, the name of the show is the $5 Rib Man, but the actual his name of his business is called E&J's Barbecue. And Ed and Janice, that's his wife's name. So it's Ed and Janice Barbecue. And she does all the cakes and pies and stuff like that people be going crazy over.